Hello and welcome to Emotionally Speaking. This week we're looking at a behavior that you certainly had done to you and you've probably done it to others, but let's look at it emotionally and see what's going on there. The behavior is shaming other people. So there's a lot of finger pointing and what is this movement? Finger shaking. Shame on you. You should be ashamed of yourself, that sort of thing. We tend to do it when people are doing something that we think is wrong, and they are doing it in such a way that we don't think that they are feeling appropriate shame about this wrong thing that they're doing, right? With, for instance, little kids who have to be taught, what you can do and what you can't. A little kid reaching out and trying to grab the cat's tail. In a healthier home, you will see shame being applied to that child in a way that is more gentle. And that kind of gentle shame is called censure. C-E-N-S-U-R-E. To censure someone is to kind of stop them from doing what they're doing in such a way that they will learn, right? Now you can have rough censure, you can have censure that actually silences people. But let's say this is a healthy home. The child reaches out for the cat's tail because why wouldn't you want to pull it, right? And in a healthy home, the mom may not be, or the dad may not be able to, may not even need to speak. They can catch the eye of the child and go, right? Just like that. And that would be a very gentle, very light amount of applying shame to the child because the child is about to do something both unkind and unsafe, right? And so the child might go and let go, right? In a less healthy home, you might have censure that is loud, shocking for the child, like, hey, cut that, put that down, that sort of thing. Let the cat go. Where the child not only gets kind of scared, lets the cat go, but now is kind of filled with a little bit too much shame to sort of be able to manage, because kids are little. They're not as big and as old as we are, and they experience emotions and many times more powerfully than we do. So you really don't need to yell at a kid, right? But a lot of parents get tired or overwhelmed and they yell. In the first instance, where the parent just went and the kid went, okay, the kid can understand, yeah, the parent didn't like that. And now I can sort of think and see what it was that my parent didn't like, and what can I do, and how can I think about this, and what's going on with the cat. Like, the child still has kind of cognitive space and skill to be able to work out what just happened. With the yelling, cut that out, the child certainly lets go of the cat, hopefully, but now is overwhelmed by the amount of emotion and intensity that was thrown at him or her. And so there's not that cognitive space where the child can go, well, what did I do with the cat? Mostly it's this intense upwelling of shame and overwhelm in the child. This is why it's important not to overshame a child, because they're not going to learn anything about the cat and about how you treat other beings and how you feel when you hurt someone else. What they're going to learn is to be afraid of you, right? And that's not how you want to do that, because if the child is away from you, which they're going to be, and your intense shaming is not available, then the child may do things that are just absurd and injurious and problematic because the child doesn't have a shame that is internal and healthy and accessible, because there's just too much being thrown. Now let's go to the adult world. Especially politically speaking on both sides right now, and we're in 2017 after a brutal presidential election and a brutal first number of months of a presidency. And people on both sides are shaming each other in the way that bad parents do, right? And they're even going further than bad parents, although I've heard bad parents do this. And maybe these are good parents, it's bad parenting. I don't want to make the whole person bad, because I know what it is to be a parent, and you can get so tired out that you lose all of your skills. So let's call it bad parenting. That I've even seen people, in the store, something like, "You little jerk. If you pick up one more thing that I have not," that kind of thing. And the child's just pulling things from the shelves because they're excitingly colored or whatever. Oh, it's donuts. So there's name calling. So on both sides of the political spectrum, I'm seeing a lot of name calling. You're evil. You're Hitler. Special snowflakes, which stop using special snowflakes. This is not working anymore, okay? When you hear special snowflakes now, you're like, oh, really, this guy, right? But for some people, we become used to that kind of abuse, and it no longer has any power over us, right? We're like, whatever, a special snowflake. Or we feel overwhelmed by it in the way that a kid would, right? And we can't function because the amount of emotional intensity coming at us is so overblown, right? But what I want to look at is when you're shaming other people, what will happen? If they're afraid of you in the way that a child is, they might stop doing the behavior as long as you're around, right? But as soon as you're not around, they may do it harder, because there's a way that shaming of other people where you put your intensity onto another person, tell them who they are, tell them how they're wrong, call them names, that sort of thing. It breaks their boundaries. It breaks their sense of self. It can break down their self-esteem. And if they have any kind of, power within them, they're going to rebuild it. And they will rebuild it in spite of you, right? So the shaming that you do does the same thing it does to a child. It doesn't give that person the cognitive space to become a better person, to make better decisions, and to understand the effects of his or her actions. It just becomes about your shaming. And so I think that when you are really, really angry at someone, and what I'm seeing online and in the regular world as well, is that people are gathering together in groups where they rile each other up so that if the person in the other group even looks at them, they'll be like, you're evil, whatever, you're, the bleeding heart liberal, you're a heartless conservative, whatever. What we're doing is we're dehumanizing each other. We are applying toxic levels of shame onto each other. And by breaking the boundaries of the other person, by dehumanizing them, by treating them with cruelty, we are creating more of the problems that we are all reacting to, right? Right? So the last time you were shamed by someone who treated you badly, what kind of changes did you make? Certainly you avoided that person. And maybe you avoided the behavior when that person or people like him or her were around. But did it help you become a more upright, empathic, and competent person in this world? Or was it just abuse? I'm going to say it was just abuse, okay? So what I notice is when I want to shame people, and it's hard not to in this current political situation because there's so much shame and blame being thrown everywhere. It's hard not to get with the finger. What am I feeling when I need to shame people? One, I'm feeling righteous. I'm feeling like I'm above them, that I'm smarter than they are, that I am just basically better than they are. And I have to question that. Well, I do question that. I question that immediately when that behavior comes up, because I know that a smarter, better, and more empathic person would never in 100 years go out shaming and finger pointing and name calling on other people. So this concept that I'm this awesome person shaming other people is absolute nonsense. Emotionally speaking, empathically speaking, and in human terms, it's nonsense. If you're out shaming, there is something going on with you. And we talk about this in the video I did on hatred. If you understand hatred only from the expression of it, I hate you, you should die, that sort of thing, you're the worst person ever, you'll think of hatred as just the worst emotion ever, and in most people's hands it is the worst emotion ever. But there's a way to work with hatred. It's called shadow work, so that you can immediately look at what you're hating and take a really serious stock of your own behavior and see, what is it about that hated person that I am and that I do? Where have I lost my boundaries and my humanity and my empathy and my capacity in regard to that person, instead of let me just go attack that person? Because as you know, by being shamed yourself, there is no upside to it, right? There is no sort of humanitarian gesture that is going on there. It is abuse. And it is the abuse that when a person is doing bad parenting, we know that they're tired, they're out of their skills, they're out of their peacefulness, they're out of their ideas, they're just out of everything, right? They're just running on empty. And we know it when we look at bad parenting. I would like for us to know it when we look at bad citizening, right? When we are exploding with hatred or shaming behaviors toward other people. It feels like strength. It is absolutely the opposite. So as you go through sort of your week and your month and your year and your life, look at the people upon whom you are willing to heap shame and you are willing to heap hatred. Who are they? Will this behavior do anything in the long run other than creating more ugliness and despair in the world? The answer is no, but I'm just, pro tip, no. So how then would you utilize the healthy aspect of shame, which is shame should come up for you when you're about to go out and do something that is boundary breaking and rude and cruel to another person? How about bringing up shame in its healthy activation, its healthy presentation? And look at yourself before you reach across. I met a man named Thor, for real. He's a big man, and a liberal, a leftist, and he is going out, and engaging with his conservative neighbors and friends. And he just asked them, so these are my concerns about what's happening right now in government. How are you feeling? If you supported this, what do you see? What's the upside to this? Because I can't see it. And now he's a big man, and his name is Thor. So he has more, there's more permission for him to step across lines in that way, because there's something about him, even though he's a really sweet guy, there's something about him that's sort of imposing anyway, right? But he's not shaming the person. He's stating the problem. I cannot see where there's an upside to this. I'm coming over to you. Tell me where the upside is. Tell me how this is ever going to work. And people are engaging with him, right? And there's no shame on either side. And instead of creating harder and rougher boundaries and divisions and chasms between the two sides, Thor, god of thunder, is reaching across and asking, how do you see it from your side? That is Thor utilizing his shame in an appropriate and healthy and empathic and adult way. See if you could do it. Just try. Just try. I'm just saying, try it once. And see if there's a way to create community and connection across lines that have been drawn not by us, right? If you see lines that are drawn this hard in the country, look at the money. Look at the powerful people who are benefiting from this. It's certainly not you and me, right? We are not benefiting from this at all. Not on either side are we benefiting in any way from this division. There is no upside to it, right? But for the people above us, the people who have the money and the power, it's working for them, right? So how about if we don't work for the people with the money and the power? They've got enough. How about if we work for America? How about if we work with each other? Stop with the shaming and see if you can reach a hand across. and understand why the other person, who is so bad, the most terrible person in the world, why would they feel that way? Why would they think that way? What are their beliefs? What is going on? Understand what connects us and not what makes us inhuman to each other. That's my little sermon on shaming people. I'll see you next week, and I swear we're going to talk about bunnies at some point. Emotionally speaking, have a wonderful week. See you soon. Bye-bye.